Hello and welcome to Irish Illustrated Game Preview. I'm Len Clark, and in just a few moments, I'll be joined by Phil Houk of Fighting Irish Preview. Tomorrow night at Ohio Stadium in Columbus, Ohio, the fifth-ranked Fighting Irish of Notre Dame will take on the second-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You know the storylines going into the game. Marcus Freeman's first regular season game as head coach, and it's against his alma mater, while Tyler Buchner will make his debut as a starting quarterback, something he has not done since high school. And Phil Houk, these are the storylines that make and create Notre Dame legends.
Absolutely. The Irish have an unusual and incredible opportunity in this ball game, Len. It's been a long time since they've been a big underdog like this and went on the road and actually won the game. And that's something that Notre Dame fans have craved, and that was something they complained a lot about, the inability to do that under the Brian Kelly era. Well, Marcus Freeman has an opportunity, and but a tough task it's going to be. It's almost, for the last 5 years, it's been almost impossible to defeat the Buckeyes on their home field. They're 63. They're 63-4 over the last 6-7 years, 8 years at home. 105,000 fans, first game of the season, top 5 matchup. You know that atmosphere is going to be electric, and boy, a tough place for a young quarterback to make his starting debut.
Phil, you've covered Notre Dame for many seasons. I can't think of a more anticipated season opener in quite some time. There's a lot of excitement. Let's talk about fall camp. It's a much different atmosphere. These are players that seemed very relaxed with the new coaching staff, but they're ready to compete. They're out there hitting on the field, and they're ready to go in talking to the players.
Well, it's kind of a dichotomy that we saw. I mean, Marcus Freeman is a player's coach, and that's his reputation, and the players seem to love him, and everybody's seen that in video. And you listen to Marcus Freeman talk, and he reciprocates that love. But on the other hand, we're well aware that this has been a very physical camp, that Marcus Freeman has demanded a lot of his players and hasn't, they have had, I think, increased physicality in their camp compared to years past. And that hopefully will pay off dividends. I think that kind of goes along with Marcus Freeman's MO. He's a defensive guy, defensive player, more physical in his mindset. And he knows that if Notre Dame's going to play well out of the chute, and they have to, because this will be should be the most difficult game of the season, they've got to be ready right away. So it's been a physical camp. Nonetheless, I think the players do still love Marcus Freeman.
Defense will be key against the Ohio State Buckeyes. As you said, Marcus Freeman, a defensive guy. And earlier in the week, we had a chance to talk with him. And one of the things that he really mentioned was the ability to rotate guys in and to really communicate and do it very effectively. So let's take a look and listen to Coach Marcus Freeman's from this past week.
You want 5 corners, 6 corners, man, with nowadays with tempo offensive, with those guys running go routes, and you look at an Ohio State wide receiver room, that the depth of that room is as long as any, right? And that those guys can rotate guys in and can just take the top off of defense. And so we have to have the ability to rotate guys. And as far as the freshmen, those guys, to me, is the ability to come in here, and they showed us that they can be counted on. They can play at this level. Jaden Miggy and Ben Morrison, both of those two guys are heck of football players. They've been developed the right way. They're both going to come in, and I expect both of them to play for us on Saturday. The good thing about it is we did get a chance to look at what a Jim Knowles defense would be like, but again, do I expect it to be the exact same? No, because to me, my opinion, any coordinator, you know what, it's still based around the talent you have, right? It's based around your personnel. You're not going to come in here and drop a book and say, this is our defense, this is our offense, you guys fit it. No, I think that's not, for me, that's not the way to do it. It's okay, let me evaluate our talent, let me evaluate our personnel, and how can we tailor our scheme to fit the guys we have. And so we're not 100% what we'll get out of Ohio State's defense. I think we have an idea just looking at Oklahoma State, and we got to study the personnel, and then we got to be able to adapt and adjust to what we see in the game.
And Phil Houk, he talked about the offense as well, but the big thing on defense is the ability to get people into the game, execute. But one thing that Notre Dame has is Al Golden, who has been a head coach, who's been in pro football. He's a defensive mind, and putting those two minds together with Marcus Freeman and Al Golden, I think you'll be seeing the Irish defense ready to go against Ohio State on Saturday night.
I expect so as well. And I think Al Golden was a great hire because he did have that head coaching experience, something that Marcus Freeman lacked. And the other emphasis that they have had, and something that Marcus Freeman just talked about, is getting lots of players in and out of the game. Well, it's going to be warm in Columbus, and I don't just mean hot because it's a big game. It's going to be warm, 89 degrees for a high. It'll be a little cooler in the evening, but it's going to be important first game of the season that you keep your players fresh and have that depth, which I think Notre Dame has developed. If Notre Dame has closed the gap a little bit since they last time were in the playoffs against Alabama when they didn't perform so well, I think they have improved their depth with more 3- and 4-star talent, I should say, backing players up, and that should help the Irish in this ball game.
Add to the storyline, he also made an announcement about the impact of freshmen getting a chance to play in the game on defense.
Absolutely. I mean, they've got two, Jaden Mickey and Bellamy, Morrison, I should say. Morrison, two corners who should see action, and that's behind two veterans guys in Clarence Lewis, Cam Hart, Tariq Bracy will play the nickel. So you've got some depth at the corner position. Also at the safety position, you have depth. And, we're talking 11 different players along that defensive line. So lots of good talent for the Irish.
He also talked on offense, facing that 4-2-5 defense of Ohio State. And this will be the second go-around for Tommy Rees to prepare for that offense, or should say defense. And your expectations of Tommy Rees coming out a second time against a Jim Knowles type of a defense.
Yeah, well, Tommy Rees performed really well in the first half of the Fiesta Bowl against that 4-2-5. We'll see how he adapts. It is helpful to be knowledgeable, excuse me, and the Irish, excuse me, should be able to take advantage of that experience.
So Phil's getting all choked up about tomorrow night's game, but Marcus Freeman also talked about it's the players. The players are going to be the difference. They can coach him, get him up to speed, but it's going to be the players able to perform. And I think one of the big areas that Notre Dame is really strong on this year is defense, and that is the welcoming back Maris Liufau, who missed last year due to an injury. And he's back there with the depth at linebacker. And this past week, we had a chance to talk with Maris Liufau in addition to Jason Adamiola. And let's just have a conversation and listen to what they talked about this past Tuesday night.
He's a vocal leader. He's a physical, not only is he a vocal leader, you could just look at Maris and you're going to want to follow him.
That's Notre Dame defensive lineman Jason Adamiola talking about the return of Irish linebacker Maris Liufau, who missed last season due to an injury.
Hey, everybody, he's going to be the first one to open the door. Everybody follow him. Let's go to war, He's been great, especially him being behind me, listening to his communication, listening to what he does for his defense. He's been busting his butt off for the guys, and we really appreciate everything he's been doing for the guys.
It's my first game back in over a year for a real game. So I'm just really excited for this opportunity. We get to play a great team. You couldn't ask for anything better than it.
The Hawaii native's return has energized the Irish defense, and he gives us some insight into his game day ritual before taking the field against Ohio State on Saturday night.
I love listening to some island music from back home. It reminds me of where I'm from, keeps me grounded, and then slowly I'll turn up the tempo a little bit with my music.
And how will the Buckeyes be preparing for him in the Irish defense?
I don't know. I was out all last season, so I don't even know if they're saying anything about me, but we'll see how everything goes.
Kickoff time Saturday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Following the Fighting Irish. For Irish Illustrated, I'm Len Clark. Well, Phil, it's good to have Maris Liufau back there. He brings speed, he brings power, he brings leadership ability, and that's really going to help set the tone for that Irish defensive strength, and that could keep them in the game against Ohio State on Saturday night.
Well, interestingly enough, Liufau is not even listed as a starter on the depth chart. You'll see the three starting linebackers as Jack Kaiser, J.D. Bertrand, and Bo Bauer. But Liufau is going to see. Don't mistake anything. He's going to see a lot of action. He's kind of like the secret weapon. Extremely athletic, can disrupt. He's long. He plays long. He can disrupt pass routes and windows and things of that nature, and can close really fast. So Liufau will see a lot of action, and that's just another example of the depth that the Irish have, and they will bring to bear in Ohio Stadium this weekend.
In the offensive storyline, the starting quarterback Tyler Buchner, he hasn't started a game since high school. And this past Tuesday night, we had a chance to talk with Chris Tyree, the running back for the Fighting Irish, in addition to Tyler Buchner, about Saturday night's game.
Tyler Buchner will make his first start for the Fighting Irish at quarterback Saturday night at Ohio State. Baptism under fire for the sophomore, but running back Chris Tyree says Tyler Buchner is capable of making big plays.
Tyler is a really mobile quarterback. He can, make plays with his legs, make plays with the ball in his hands. So, it makes my reads easier just being that, he gives the defense an extra hat to look out for. A playmaker, simple as that. He makes plays, no matter whether he's throwing the ball, whether he's running it, whether he's making checks, making reads, communicating to the offense. He makes plays.
So what are some of the things that have prepared Buchner for this national spotlight and the game against Ohio State?
The first thing that comes to mind is probably the Virginia Tech game. I'd say that's the most.
Well, little technical difficulties. We hope the Irish don't have that tomorrow night against Ohio State. But really, Buchner talked about being prepared by playing in that Virginia Tech game last year. So he has the experience playing in a big, loud atmosphere. That's going to be an intangible that he's used to, and that might make a difference, that kind of experience, and then bringing his leadership ability to the Fighting Irish offense tomorrow night.
Well, Tyler Buchner's a cool character. There's no doubt about that. We've interviewed him several times now, and he exudes calmness, let's put it that way. And he's going to need that in this football game. Extremely talented young man. He's just got to get in there and get his feet wet. He's got to, and when I say feet are kind of key here. We know that the aspect that he brings to the game is the ability to run. He's a fast athlete, and he's going to have to do a lot of that to supplement the Fighting Irish game.
And that's going to be the key in the game, as Marcus Freeman said it. They need to run the ball to open up the Irish offense, as Phil is getting choked up about this game tomorrow. Now he's so passionate about the Fighting Irish. But we know that Buchner can run the ball. We will be very interested in see how he works with the wide receiving core and the tight ends as far as his passing against a very good 4-2-5 Ohio State defense. I'm going to put you on the spot, Phil. Prediction for the game, Fighting Irish against Ohio State.
Well, a 17.5 point spread is awfully enticing if you're a Notre Dame fan. I have to admit that. This is an extraordinary offense that Ohio State will bring to bear. But I think their defense is a little bit vulnerable. I don't know how fast Jim Knowles can get that turned around. Last year, they gave up a lot of points. And I think the Irish can score some points, but they're going to have to be mistake-free. That goes without saying in most any big game like this. I think the Irish can keep it close. I don't know that they can overcome that home crowd advantage and the fact that Buchner is a newcomer. I'm looking at somewhere around the neighborhood of 35-27 Ohio State.
I really think it's going to be a defensive battle, a lot of scoring, though, and it might come down to special teams. And my prediction with Irish Illustrated, I say it goes down to the final seconds, and then another storyline where another Notre Dame legend could be created. Graduate transfer from Arkansas State, Blake Grupe. He hits it on a 48-yard field goal to win the game. That is my prediction. Phil, we'll see you down in Columbus, Ohio. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on Irish Illustrated Game Preview. The kickoff tomorrow night at Ohio Stadium in Columbus, Ohio, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Remember to join Irish Illustrated for instant analysis with Tim Priester and Tim O'Malley before the game, and then stick around for post-game analysis and player interviews after the game at irishillustrated.com. For Phil Houk of Fighting Irish Preview, I'm Len Clark of Irish Illustrated. Thank you for watching, and go Irish!